Joining me now is Paul Whelan's attorney, Ryan Fahey, who has represented Paul pro bono since 2019 and worked directly with the White House and others, I believe, to secure his freedom. He served more than 5 years in Russian captivity and saw other people getting out. Trevor Reed, Brittney Griner. How does he feel now?
Well, Paul's a person of tremendous courage, and that was shown on the tarmac, was shown in 5 years in a Russian penal colony, and he's doing as well as can be expected. He's very proud of that presidential pen. He's proud of his country for bringing him back home, and I've talked to him every day since, and he's still wearing that pin.
And he's in San Antonio. They go through a process. How long will that take place? There are experts there at readjusting to real life after being in the Russian prison.
That's correct. Paul's now moving on to the next stage of what will be a long recovery. He can stay up to 19 days down at the Brooks Army Medical Center, BAMC, in San Antonio, Texas, which focuses on his physical and mental health. And there are outstanding resources now for anyone facing either a hostage or a wrongful detention situation like the one Paul faced.
What happens to him personally, his career, his work? What does he do with his life?
So with all Paul's courage, and he's, as I say, he's doing very, very well, but he does have to begin to rebuild his life now. He lost his job, his home. He lost 5.5 years of his ability to earn resources. And so now he starts over and starts to rebuild his life. Once his health care is in order, he's going to return to Michigan, to those billboards that we've seen all over the news welcoming him home, and he's going to start to rebuild.
His elderly parents, of course, live there and are thrilled with his return. How agonizing was it when Trevor Reed, a fellow Marine, got out, and then Brittney Griner, who had, more publicity perhaps behind it, and now Mark Fogel and others are still left behind?
Well, Paul realizes that this was part of the Russian playbook all of the while. Had there never been a Paul Whelan, there wouldn't have been a Trevor Reed, a Brittney Griner, an Evan Gershkovich, Alsu Kurmasheva. None of them would have been arrested. So Paul does have an understanding now, as he's trying to understand what was happening on this side of the Atlantic, that he was just exploited and re-exploited, as were, I believe, all the American public, by what's happened to Paul. And so obviously something has to be done in the coming years about hostage diplomacy. It's no way to run foreign relations policy between countries. And so hopefully this is something that the government will focus on to ensure there's never a Paul Whelan again.
Well, it's clearly a policy of Vladimir Putin's. What were the secret steps behind the scenes that got him out? Was it enlarging the deal to include more people in the trade?
Yeah, ultimately, look, the White House was very firmly committed to getting this done across all of government, and that's really a testament to the work that the family had done, Elizabeth and David and Andrew, to raise the profile of Paul's case and to keep everybody entirely on task. And that's ultimately what happened. Over many, many years of a very long and complex chess game, finally the pieces fell into place and Paul was able to come home. But it took a lot of doing, as we saw, even grander than the family had understood at the time, as it was announced, 2 Thursdays ago.
Is there one person that you credit?
Well, certainly the president was absolutely engaged. And look, Jake Sullivan, the president's national security advisor, has been absolutely committed to resolving these wrongful detention cases. And I can tell you he was as focused on this as anyone I've ever seen, being responsive to Elizabeth in her constant agitation to get this thing done. He absolutely, as was Roger Carstens, the special envoy for hostage affairs, a great guy who's just worked that office over and is just firmly committed to get this done. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention 2 U.S. ambassadors. First, John Huntsman, and second, John Sullivan, who made this their top priority, both as to Paul and the other wrongful detainees.